So how much does a divorce cost in Utah? Well, that depends. If you can get it done at mediation, you might be, 5 to 8 grand. If you're going to fight, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, it can be a lot of money. And I've seen people spend thousands of dollars over things that weren't worth what they were spending on attorneys to fight over, fighting over furniture. So, true story. This is many years ago. We had a divorce case. They didn't have any kids. We were just fighting over their stuff. And they couldn't agree. And this is before Utah had mandatory mediation. And so what would happen back then is the judges would schedule like 5 potential one-day divorce trials on their calendar, and you didn't know if you were going or not. So one day we show up at court, my client and I, and the other side and the other attorney, and the judge starts, with the oldest case. We're the 4th oldest case. So he said, "Hey, Judge, we're 4th. These other 3 look like they're going to go. Can we leave?" And the judge said, "Nope, stick around. This one might only take me an hour." "Okay, Judge." Great. So we went out in the hallway, and we're trying to negotiate and talk. We're working. We're not just, this is before iPhones and, Samsung phones and smartphones. It was before smartphones. So we didn't have games to play on our phone to distract us. So we sat down and we got to work, and we were talking and kind of negotiating who's going to get what stuff. And we're going back and forth. Well, comes the lunch break, and we go back in and say, "Hey, Judge, you're still on the first case. We're number 4. Can we go home?" The judge said, "Nope, stick around. I'm going to be done with this one quick." Okay. So come back after lunch, 1:30. Finally, that first case finished at 2:30, and we go back in the courtroom. "Judge, we're 4th. Can we go?" The judge says, "No, stick around." Okay, he starts the second case. So about 3:30, I kid you not, we were down to who was going to get the toaster. So we had spent from 9 in the morning till 3:30 fighting over personal assets, 2 attorneys, full hourly rates, and we got down to the toaster. And they both wanted the toaster because it was a wedding present, and the person that gave them was a mutual friend that they both loved, and it was just had this deep emotional attachment to them. Well, I was not going to go back into that judge and say, "Judge, we need you to flip a coin over who's going to get the toaster." I would have been embarrassed professionally. So I went to the other attorney. I said, "Look, I will be back in a half an hour." He said, "Where are you going?" "The case is settled. Your client can have the toaster." He says, "Really?" "Yeah, but my client and I got to run an errand. I will be back in a half hour. If the judge calls our case, tell him it is settled and that I'll be back." He said, "All right." So I grabbed my client. I said, "Let's go. Where are we going?" "You'll find out when we get there." We get in my car. We're driving. I said, "When's your birthday?" He says, "It's in 2 weeks." "Awesome. I'm going to go buy you a birthday present. Let's go." So we went down to a local store. It's no longer there. It was a Kmart. And I marked, when we go in the Kmart, and he said, "What are we doing?" I said, "You'll see." We went to the toaster aisle. And I said, "Pick a toaster. Happy birthday from your attorney." And I told that guy, he says, "Look, my friend, I am not going to go in there and ask the judge to flip a coin over a toaster. That means I can't do my job very well, and I'm a knucklehead." So I bought my client a toaster, gave him a birthday present. We went back up, told the judge, "Judge, we got a settlement." We took a minute and put on the record who was going to get what items, let the ex-wife have the toaster, and I bought a birthday present. But that was the most expensive toaster that guy ever bought. He paid my full hourly rate that day for 7 hours so that he could have me go buy a toaster so that we could settle that case. So here's the deal. Divorce can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be if we can get into mediation. We can find ways to solve the problem, and people are willing to compromise and be creative a little bit. Now, I'm willing to fight. Last year I did a 3-day trial about custody, and we prevailed. But the bottom line is that was more than a $25,000 trial for my client. That was an expensive 3 days and the week and a half or so to prepare, and the exhibits and all of that work that went into that. That could have maybe been avoided if both sides would have been a little more cooperative. So if you don't want your divorce to cost a ton of money like it can, and if I don't want to buy any more toasters, let's work and find a solution at mediation. That's what we focus on. We'll go fight if we need to, but we've learned over 25, 26 years in this business that if especially in divorce and custody battles, the best way to resolve it is through a mediated or solution or settlement that's worked out between attorneys. If you need some help getting that done, we're your guys. Travis Christiansen here at Greater Zion Law by Boyack Christiansen. We've got offices in St. George and Hurricane. You can find us at greaterzionlaw.com, and we just reach out, schedule a meeting to come in and sit down with me or one of the other attorneys in the office so we can see if we can solve your problem in a way that's not going to cost you $1,000. And I might even buy you a toaster.